Dricus Du Plessi has attacked me. How do you like that? Dricus Du Plessi goes on Ariel's show, and they both attacked me for that matter. Are you ready for what he said? Chael says a lot of stupid things. That came out of his mouth. That came out of Dricus's mouth. Chael, that's me, that's my name. Says a lot of stupid things. Ariel backed him up. Ariel repeated the words back to him. Yeah, Chael says a lot of stupid things. I don't see it that way. I don't see myself as the guy that goes around and says stupid things. So it caught me off guard. I mean, I got to tell you, that surprised me. I know in my heart who I am. I'm a Dricus fan. I feel that I'm a Dricus supporter. I don't know anyone that covers him more. I don't know if anyone that has ever laid out the Dricus timeline, which dates back to December 10th of last year when he was on an undercard. Bo Nickel, who was making his debut, was on the main card. Dricus lost his mind. Said, that's not right. I'm better than him. I've been here longer than him. He's debuting in my weight class on the same card, and he has a feature match. Any part of you's got a problem with what I'm saying? Put me in there with him. I'll actually fight him. It was powerful. It was cool, by the way. And I covered it. That fight fell apart. The Bo Nickel fight fell apart. They had to adjust the card. They pulled Dricus right up. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. It was a great example, but it was also a feel-good moment. It was somebody that was fighting for something, what this whole thing's supposed to be about. These guys get signed to the UFC. They forget that it's about fighting. They won't fight for headlines. They won't fight for attention. They won't fight for spots on a card. They won't fight an opponent that they think is going to be a difficult problem, right? They become the opposite of fighters. But here we got this guy, and he starts fighting, and he makes it. This is from December 10th until present time, all the way to number one contender. Not only is he main card, he is main event. That's just the story, the way that it happened. Now, if I was mad at Dricus, I couldn't tell the story any other way, because that's what happened. Now, let's back up to the case in point where he's saying that Chael says stupid things, and he got Ariel to agree with him. Dricus Du Plessi, making his rise, wants to get to Adesanya. They got this incredible angle that's so hot, reporters are almost scared to touch it, but they're damn sure writing about it and sending it into the editor. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do the fight. But one way to make Dricus that top contender is if he can get through Whitaker. If he can get through Whitaker, which he probably can't, but if he can, we can't deny, and nobody could deny, that this guy that was on an undercard a number of months ago is now a top draw. So put him in there with Whitaker. People got excited to see the fight. Got a feature placement. I believe it was co-main event. My partners over at DraftKings at bell time had that 3-1 Whitaker, which made sense. And Dricus not only beat him, there was a gap. He beat him badly. Dricus did things to Whitaker that no man had ever done to Whitaker. Dricus took him down with a headlock, for goodness sakes. Dricus outstruck him. He pushed the pace on him. It was wonderful. There was no way to deny that he was the number one contender. Going into that fight, it was a very unique situation, which is the world was informed going into that fight. Dricus versus Whitaker. The world was informed. There's an event in September. It's in Australia. From a business perspective, it's a brand new television deal that is going to kick off and launch on that date with the UFC. And Dana came out and said, we're going to bring our most reliable star from that region, Israel Adesanya, who is going to bring a belt. And his opponent is going to be found out within this contest. Robert Whitaker versus Du Plessis. It was a big deal. It was a big deal going in. Because nobody wants to see Whitaker versus Adesanya part 3, but you might have to do it, right? Like, there's just not enough bodies. There's not enough guys that could fog a mirror. So we might have to do that. So we're going to tell everybody ahead of time so nobody moans and groans. We're going to identify it. And here's this mouthy guy named Du Plessis. Here's a proven commodity that people don't want to watch fight named Whitaker. Let's put them together. One of them goes out here to do the Australia deal. I mean, but this is real. This is what happened. If you hit stop right now and you wanted to call me names, you wanted to call me stupid, which isn't nice. That didn't make me feel good. But if you wanted to call me anything else, you would be inaccurate. If I stop talking right now, I have told the story 100% the way that it happened. That fight was a number one contenders fight, unlike any that we've seen. Not only do we know it was a number one contenders fight, which is very rare, we had the date. We had the gymnasium. We had the network. I don't remember a time in UFC history that that's happened. There has been a fight where we've said the winner will fight for the title, and we'll all get back to it when we know what that is. We had it. It was all built in. It was all going to draw to this date. Okay? To the point that Adesanya was flown to a different continent, sat in the front row, and got in the ring to confront the winner, his now opponent. And when that confrontation happened, and when that confrontation ended, he no longer had an opponent. Now, this is specifically the part that I am being called stupid for. I want to really slow this down so you can think about this, okay? There was a number one contenders fight. The champ's sitting outside. The champ gets into the ring. Joe Rogan, as Izzy's coming up the stairs, announces it's going to be Du Plessi versus Adesanya. It's going to be September. It's going to be in Australia. All of these things are true. And then an interview takes place. And when that interview ended, it was no longer Du Plessi versus Adesanya. That's the story, and that's the way that I told it. I didn't add anything. Now, that would be overshadowed by the fact that somewhere within there he changed his mind. No fighter wants to be called scared. And frankly, I don't fully know what that emotion means. I don't fully know what it means. So perhaps if I said he was scared, perhaps it's another word. Intimidated, unwilling, change of mind. I don't think it would make me stupid, though. That would be a reasonable guess. I do know that when he walked out of the ring, Adesanya walked out knowing he was going to fight Du Plessis in September. When Du Plessis walked out of the ring, they put a camera on him. He's all sweaty. He hasn't even got to the locker room. He hasn't sat down. He hasn't hit a shower yet. He hasn't hugged his mother. He just got out of the ring. They asked him about Adesanya, and he said, let's talk about Robert Whittaker. That happened. That doesn't make me stupid for remembering that. That makes me a fan for remembering that. They've put a camera on lots of guys as they've left the octagon. I couldn't tell you what they said. They put a camera on me every time I left the octagon. I couldn't tell you what I said. I'm a fan of Du Plessis. I remember off the top of my head what he said. He then goes into processing. That's where they're going to hand him his money. They're going to say, is there anything wrong with you? And every fighter in history says no, because they don't ever feel anything wrong with them. They're invincible. They're full of adrenaline. Same answer that he gave. Is there anything wrong with you? The doctor asked him, and he said no. They then handed him his money. He left from there to a locker room for a brief period of time to a press conference. All of those things happened. There's no stupid Chael here. All of those things happened. The press conference, they asked him again about Adesanya, and all of a sudden, he had injuries that he didn't disclose. The last thing that he did before he got to the press conference is he met with a doctor who works at the discretion of the Attorney General, who works at the pleasure of the governor. It's public. Everything that I'm telling you is public. Hey, doc, we would like to know what Du Plessis told you in that moment, and since we, the taxpayer, paid for it, produce it. And you want to know what they told him? Nothing was wrong. He said nothing was wrong. I believe him. I believe there was nothing wrong. And I've had somebody push back called Red Pill. It was like this back and forth. And Red Pill said, what, are you saying that he can't feel bad the next day? I'm not saying any of those things. You could feel good, or you could feel bad, or you could feel indifferent. What I'm saying is, had that interview not happened, had Adesanya not big brothered him, had Adesanya not said those words and created that emotion, then he would have fought him in September. Same as was planned before the fight that everybody knew. Same as the plan was when Adesanya flew to that event and sat in the front row. Same as the plan was when Adesanya walked into the ring. Same as the plan was when Joe Rogan told the world. That fight did not get canceled because of a hurt foot. That fight got canceled because of an interview that created an emotion. And if I have identified that emotion as scared or feared and you disagree, fine. Then tell me the correct word. But don't tell me my accurate assessment of exactly what happened means that I'm stupid.